Hey folks, how's it going? It's a beautiful day out here. I want to talk about something connected to preparedness, but not so talked about in the prepper community. Um, they make mention of it, but not too often do they actually take you through the process. So I thought I would bring you out here with me to see the beginning of my process. Basically, what I have here is two wheelbarrows, one with dirt in it, one with a starter tray. This is one from last year. They're not hateful to purchase. They usually come with dirt in them. I try to take care of them and recycle them, or at least reuse them for 2, sometimes 3 seasons. I believe this is the 3rd season for this one, and it's in pretty decent shape. So we'll see how it looks when I'm finished with it. But basically what I did here was my patio pots, which you don't see. They're on the patio as well as I am, but they're over there. I dump my patio pots back in my wheelbarrow every season, and then I use some peat moss, and then I have some manure, and then usually if I have any, just regular bag garden dirt around, I pick it up on sale. It's always good to have it around, and I'll add to it and remix everything, and then put it all back in the pots. In that process of prepping my patio pots for the season, I also use the same soil for my starter kit. So that's what I'm going to do here today. Let me get the soil in here. We'll take a break for a second, and then I'll take you over to the table and show you what we're going to be planting. All right, that only took a minute. You see we got 72 starter pots here. I'm not sure if I'll use that many. Here's my seed assortment. So right now I'm only going to be starting what goes in my patio pots. So I will not be planting all of this. Mostly on the patio is herbs. I do a lot of herbs and tomatoes, and maybe we'll do some lettuce this year on the patio. Not sure. What'll happen is later in the season, probably in another week or 2, I will get the raised beds prepped. Pretty much the same principle, just more bags. I add to it with peat and some manure, and use a cultivator to till it all in. Probably should have got some of this organized before I got started with you today, but I wasn't planning on doing this today, but the weather's on my side, and I got off a little bit early from work, so I decided to get in here and do this. So I'm certainly not going to make you sit with me as I work through all of this. As you can see, I have a ton of seed packs here. We're going to have quite the garden this year with the addition of the new 3 new raised beds, which is going to be, I think it was about an additional 100 square foot of garden space, which helps out tremendously, especially for things like beans and zucchini and squash that seem to take up a lot of space. But like I said, for now, I'm just going to focus on. Have a seat. I'm just going to focus on my patio pots, which I believe there's 14 of those. And like I said, normally I do herbs in those because they're easy to get to because they're on the patio. And then occasionally tomatoes. And last year I did actually hot peppers in one of the pots as well, which worked out pretty good. I may do that again this year. I did see I do have a pack of hot peppers in there. But for today, I think I'm just going to stick with these 7. I have 14 pots. Some of them are a little bit bigger, so I can double up with some of the items that are in the pot and actually grow 2 things in the same pot. But today we're going to do peppermint. We're going to do some rosemary. we're going to do some basil, and that's Genovese basil. And then we're also going to do some spinach, and then both some cherry tomatoes and some beefsteak tomatoes, and then another pack of Genovese basil, which they're two different brands, and I don't remember which brand I liked better. I know none of these are the brand that I normally would use, but I seem to be out of those and haven't placed my order yet this year. I hope it's not too late. I may still try to do that, but normally I order from a place up in New England called Johnny's Seeds. I've had phenomenal success with those. These are just the kind you get at Home Depot or any of your nursery type stores, Lowe's. I think some of these might even have come from the dollar store. These here, this brand I've never heard of. I'm not sure where I picked these up, but I know I got these over the winter. Normally they're dated, so you always want to check the dates. I would kind of veer away from older seeds, but when you see newer dates on them, even if it is in the wintertime, then it's generally okay to pick them up. As you can see, I have 72 starters to plant, and I only have 14 pots. So some of these is going to be redundancy. I'm certainly not going to grow 72 plants off of this, but I always start a little more than I know I'm going to need. Because I know not all of them are going to germinate and sprout, and also some of the stuff, like the peppermint, that kind of takes over, so it needs a bigger pot. Rosemary kind of takes over, but normally with like basil and oregano, which I didn't pull out, I'm gonna have to get some oregano. Normally they stay fairly contained, and you can grow them without them taking over the pot or getting out of control. So trial and error is your best bet. You can look it up online, or you can check books that will tell you, what is good to plant with other plants and what generally does better when it's by itself. But really, trial and error is going to be your best teacher. I know over the years I've done pretty well with putting basil and oregano in the same pot, and it does pretty well. In fact, I think one year I put peppermint and rosemary in the same pot. It was a bigger pot, just kind of like a competition to see who would win, and they both flourished. And I had a huge pot of peppermint and rosemary, because there was no competing. Normally I also do like curled leaf parsley or a large leaf Italian parsley. I probably have some of those in here somewhere. We'll see how it plays out. I may end up just putting, because parsley grows fairly quickly, I may just end up putting that in the raised bed. This is just to get me going for the spring. I'm probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks, a little late with this. I'm sure there's other gardeners out there that said I should have started this in February, but I usually don't get to it until about this time of year. Usually around Easter is when I get to it, and this serves two purposes. I'm generally not a gardener by trade, or it's more so just a hobby. I learned about it growing up with my grandmother and my grandfather. They did it more so out of necessity. They canned a lot of their produce that they would grow in their garden, and that's kind of what would get them through the winter. So in this journey to preparedness, I've adopted some of these hobbies, so to say, and really the best part about it, and it's beneficial to everyone, because no one's watching this video can tell me that they haven't felt the crunch at the grocery store. I know I have, and I'm sure everyone else has. And I don't know how everyone else shops, but I generally shop the perimeter of the store. I'm not in the middle aisle area of the store very often. I do go in there for some stuff occasionally, but generally my week-to-week grocery shopping is the perimeter. I start in the produce section, then I go down the meat section, I come around to the dairy, and that's about it for me. I like to prepare from, I guess, scratch, my meals. I would rather get fresh green beans than open a can of green beans. Now, in the wintertime, that's difficult to do, So I do, use canned goods like everyone else. I use frozen vegetables just like everyone else. But when I can, I prefer to buy fresh produce, not only from the grocery store, but also from some of the local uh, produce stands and markets around. And where I live, we have no shortage of them. I'm sure everybody has a lot of them around. Uh, and really, it's hit or miss whether they're any less expensive than the grocery store. I know a little ways away from me, you get up further into the desolate parts of the county. There's more farms up there, and there's an Amish farm up there. I forget the name of it. The next time I'm up that way, I'll try to remember. I know where it's at. I just don't remember what it's called. It's an Amish market, and their prices are incredible. That's my favorite place to go, but it's about 40 minutes away from here. So I generally don't go up there on a regular basis, but when I'm in the area, I do like to stop in and load up. I mean, for $30 or $40, I get 3 times what I get at the grocery store bulk wise. Um, so, but for now, to try to augment some of those grocery store costs or produce stand costs, I grow a limited amount, but at least enough to somewhat offset my costs of tomatoes and peppers and beans, um, the herbs, um, carrots. I'm going to do this year. We eat a lot of salads. It doesn't look like it, but I do, believe it or not. Um, and a lot of vegetables. I generally do 2 vegetables per meal. It's just something I grew up with, and now I do the same thing when I put my dinners together. I generally have 2 vegetables on the plate. So this is how we do it. It's not difficult. Now, if you don't have a backyard or an area that you could put in a garden, it's not the end of the world. You can do some pots on your patio or in a windowsill or on your front porch. It doesn't take a whole lot of space, and really, it's a basic thing. It's some dirt and a seed and some water. Hoses over there, and sunlight. That's about it. And nature does it for you. In a couple of months, it probably tells me on here 70 days. In 70 days, I will have a bush full of super sweet hybrid cherry tomatoes. They will be perfect for salads. They will probably also get used on homemade pizza. I do like some fresh tomatoes on homemade pizza. That's always a win. And salads, of course. So if you have the space to grow enough and you have the time, you really wouldn't need the grocery store. I've met lots of people that grew up on a farm where they didn't really go to the grocery store. They grew everything they ate. And that's huge. That's hard to do. It takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication and a lot of cost because you have to maintain the garden. It's a lot of your time, but it doesn't have to be that way. A 5-gallon bucket and a bag of dirt and a tomato seed will grow you a tomato plant on your porch or on your sidewalk in front of your house or your patio or your deck or your balcony. And I know when I was growing up as a kid, my grandparents had a very small garden, and there was always tomatoes in the windowsill. There was always squash and zucchini on the counter. My grandmother would give it away to the neighbors because it produced so much. Now, you're not going to produce so much in a 5-gallon bucket that you'll be giving it away. But believe me, when it comes time to harvest, you won't have a need to go to the grocery store and pick up tomatoes because just simple dirt, seed, water, and sunlight will take care of that for you. Now, if you have enough space, you can do multiple pots or a small raised bed garden. 4 foot by 4 foot is really about all you need. It doesn't take much. You'd be surprised how much you could grow in there. And once you do this enough times and you get better at it, you kind of get the hang of the timing to where you plant it and then everything's ready at once. You can't eat it all at one time. You end up throwing some of it away. It's really all about timing to where as you're planting, things are being offset to where down the road when harvest time comes, you're not harvesting everything at once. And I kind of do that. I know what grows, and all of the packs will tell you how many days it has to grow to get the harvest. Like this one, for instance, is 70 days. This one is also 70 days. Spinach is pretty quick. Wind's blowing me away here. Spinach is 40 to 48 days. So in just a little over a month, omelets, salads, or just spinach with a little butter on it. And there'll be no shortage of it. 3 or 4 of these seeds will grow enough spinach plants to feed my family. If I end up growing 5 or 6, now I have an excess of it. And I've done that before. When I was younger, the first time I grew cherry tomatoes, I think I planted 5 cherry tomato plants. And I had Ziploc bags full of cherry tomatoes. When it was all said and done, I was giving them away because I had so many. So it's not hard to do. You just gotta, get started. The longest journey starts with the first step. And really the first step is right here. Just a little, and you don't need to buy one of these, anything. In fact, I think I got these from the dollar store, these little pots here. I keep around. These are just tiny little pots. And theoretically, you don't even have to you don't have to buy the dirt. If you find a patch of woods or something, you dig up a couple of shovelfuls of dirt, and that should do it for you. But the bag dirt is easy, it's convenient, and a lot of times this time of year in the spring, the dollar store has it in bags outside the store or just inside the store fairly inexpensively. Home Depot sells it for, I think, less than $2 a bag. So it's pretty cheap to get into. The seed tray, I think they're like $8 or $10. I don't remember it. It's one of those things that's necessary, and I know I need them, so I generally don't look at what it costs. I just pick one up whenever I need them, and I have several of them that are different age because, like I said, I try not to beat them up or break them. So once I pull all these to transfer them to other pots, I can kind of reuse this. I store it away. You see this one's got a crack in it. I must have grabbed it to pull it out of here or something and ripped it. Who knows? But this one's in good enough shape for me to use for another season, maybe even a season after this one. We'll see how it goes. But again, it's not difficult. A pack of seeds is $2.79 for this one and $2.19 for this one. So you figure $2 for a bag of dirt. You don't have to use the seedling containers. You can pretty much use any container that's somewhat food safe. I know the plastic coffee cans work great. They're not real big, so you have to watch what you plant in them because a lot of these plants need a fair amount of root space. But again, you can get a 5-gallon bucket at Home Depot for $5. So for basically $10, you can grow enough tomatoes to where that $10 seems like nothing compared to what tomatoes cost you at the grocery store, considering the amount of tomatoes that you will end up growing. So my suggestion is just start small, kind of get the hang of it, and go from there. After a couple of years, it'll be pretty easy, and you'll end up growing enough to, maybe offset your grocery costs. If not, you'll definitely enjoy. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I was always raised, the tomatoes out of grandmom's garden are the best ever. Were they? I don't know. But I know when I sat down at the dinner table and there was tomatoes or other vegetables, my grandparents would always say, wow, they taste so much better when you grow them yourself. It could be in your head. It could be a real thing. I don't know. I know I get a lot of satisfaction out of growing mine. I think it's awesome to, come mid-June, around that time, walk outside with a stainless steel colander and a pair of scissors and start clipping my lettuce and my spinach and my herbs and walk inside and put together a salad. That's amazing. It doesn't get any fresher than that. It's literally farm to table, but not a farm, just my patio. So good luck with it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I am certainly no expert, but I will help you with what I can, and we'll see you next time.